91.3. Good morning to you. Welcome to the Brightside. You're hanging out with Carol, Shehzad, and joined in the studio. I'm so excited. I'm jumping out of my skin by Chef Damian D'Silva. Welcome, Chef Damian. Good morning to you.
Good morning, Carol. Good morning, Shehzad.
First,
Hi.
let me announce the accolades. Okay, you are the chef owner of Rumpapa, fondly known as the grandfather of heritage cuisine here in Singapore, and you are the recipient of the Special Recognition Award at the Singapore Tourism Awards 2024 for showcasing and promoting Singapore's multicultural cuisine. And of course, you're a respected judge on popular cooking shows here in Singapore, and also a featured chef on the TV series Somebody Feed Phil, which I love. So fantastic. So many accolades. First up, Chef, can you tell us about this new award from STB? What does this special recognition mean to you professionally and personally?
Okay. It's not something that I expected, right? I don't work for accolades. I work to promote heritage cuisine, and it's something that I've been doing for the last 25 years. And I think receiving the award, it's a pat on the back, but more important, I think, it tells people that, there is another cuisine that you all don't know about. Even if you knew about it, there's a lot more that you know. So receiving this special recognition award, I think, why did Damian receive this special recognition for? Was it for, Eurasian cuisine, for Peranakan cuisine? What? It's for Singapore heritage cuisine.
Wow.
That's what I've been promoting for the last 25 years. So yeah, I am greatly, thankful for STB.
You've done a lot for the culinary scene here in Singapore. Can I just clarify what heritage cuisine entails?
Well, it's food that's been around in Singapore for a very long time. When I say very long time, a lot of people think it's 50, 60 years. It's been around for the last, seriously, 300 years.
Wow.
Well, Singapore, when we were first noticed, there were people that are really living in Singapore, right?
Correct.
The Orang Lauts, they've been here since 500 years ago,
Right.
and they've got their own cuisine as well. And then we have the traders that came to Singapore, the Chinese traders, the Indian traders, right? And they brought their own special, unique cuisine to this part of the world as well. And as we grew, of course, the main 5 ethnicities that you have in Singapore, you have Chinese, Malay, Indian, Peranakan, and Eurasian, right? But each ethnicity is not just one type of cuisine. It's a lot more than that.
Yeah.
And that's what people are missing. And what's really sad is that, even if there's 5 ethnicities, not many people actually know there are 5 ethnicities in Singapore. Of course, the new ethnic groups that have come to Singapore, the Filipinos, the Thais, whatever right? Even the Caucasians. But these 5 groups, they are what heritage cuisine is all about.
It's funny, you just talk about the 5 ethnicities.
Right.
It just occurred to me, one of the nicknames for Eurasians is Sarani, right?
Yes, correct.
So if we have Sarani, Peranakan, Indian, Chinese, and what was the last one? Eurasian.
Malay.
I was going to say that smells spice.
Sarani is Eurasian.
Yeah.
Malay.
I was going to say that smells spice, but it doesn't. Anyway, that's me trying to put some abbreviations together, typical Singaporean. But we went to your restaurant.
Right.
And we've had your food, and you were regaling us with tales of how you kind of grew up into it, and you grew up in a very different time, of course, when recipes were stored in the memory.
Correct.
And everything was made from scratch. Can you tell us some of those early encounters with cooking? Because the story, it was riveting for us, and it brought back a lot of memories, but I'd love our listeners to hear about it.
Okay, so, I didn't start cooking right away, right? Like most Singaporeans during that era, you started off as child labor. You're always in the kitchen, and there's always a voice coming from heaven says, look, come in the kitchen and peel the onions, or go and grind the chilies.
Do something useful.
Yeah, do something useful. and that's what you did. You basically, initially it wasn't something that you were keen to do, but you knew that at the end of whatever you did, there was always a great meal on the table. And I think that was what I looked forward to. And as I continued to do all this child labor, I realized, that Granddad, and he was the main person, I think, that I looked up to. Of course, my mother's an excellent cook. Really, she is, But Granddad was very special. He was the person that cooked Chinese, Malay, most Sri Lankan, and Eurasian. And I thought to myself, right, this is one man, right, that you can't find anywhere. And if he dies, everything goes with him.
Right.
He does have a recipe book, but his recipe books have got no instructions. It is just ingredients. So if you don't know how to execute the dish, that's it.
Right.
You don't know, right? So, after some time I went to him, I says, Pop, you got to teach me how to cook. And he was like, no, you don't want to cook, Damian. Why you want to cook for? You slave in the kitchen. That's not something you want to do, There are better things to do in life. And then I just turned around and I said to him, Pop, look, if you die, who's going to cook to me? Mom doesn't do what you do. You're the only person that does dishes that are different from everybody else, And I think it sort of dawned on him that, hey, this little boy has got a point.
And that's a key thing here, Damian, because how old were you when you went to talk to him about this?
I was really young, man. No, I was really young, But it's not about, whether I was young or not, because I saw something which was so relevant to my heritage.
It's kind of amazing. I think you mentioned to us that you were just 11 years old, thereabouts.
That's right.
To think about becoming the next custodian of your grandfather's recipes, that's something huge at that time.
I didn't think about that then, Right. I was thinking that, God, if he dies, I can't cook this, man.
Yeah.
I'm going to eat the stuff.
Exactly.
Oh, it's more for the belly.
And that was more important to me. I mean, sorry,
Yeah.
Food is something which I take to heart.
Yeah.
A lot of people, it's not just, for me, it's not just eat to fill yourself, or for me, it is soul. It really is soul. It's so important, right? When I talk to people about, how important food is, right? A lot of people look at me and says, you're serious? I says, yeah, I am. I mean, this is something that is brought from the past, and it's passed on to different people, and as time goes on, different people do different versions of it, and you remember your version. Whether it's better than the other version, that's not matter, right? But when you eat it, you remember the time you first ate it and the consequences that have happened over there.
That is so beautifully put. Your food has got to have soul, and it connects you to a time period. Chef Damian has so many nuggets of wisdom to share with us. And we are live on Facebook right now, facebook.com/1FM913. Do join us there for this engaging chat with the grandfather of heritage cuisine. We'll be back with more of Chef Damian in just a bit.
The Brightside with Carol, Lavinia and Shehzad.
Hey, good morning, everybody. Welcome to Facebook Live. Thank you so much for joining us. We're so excited to welcome to the studio Chef Damian D'Silva, the chef owner of Rumpapa, winner of many, many accolades. And of course, Shehzad and myself were just at Rumpapa recently with our producer Yumiko. We were just blown away by some of the dishes. And of course, we weren't quite sure what to expect. Initially, we thought, hey, Eurasian food. But then when we went there, it wasn't just Eurasian food.
Yes.
It was a whole smorgasbord of heritage cuisine. Right. Some of these dishes I've never heard of as well.
Yeah.
But, I was just wondering who, your grandfather, of course, was the role model, the early teacher of this cuisine. Why did you're not just focused on that though, you're focused on other cuisines, and you specialize in European cuisine as well.
Yes,
why do you choose to focus on heritage cuisine?
Because if I'm not doing what I'm doing right now, right, who else is there? I'm not saying it in a negative way, but if you look at a chef, when he cooks, he only cooks one style of cuisine. If it's Italian, it's Italian.
Right.
Yeah.
Today, you find a lot of people pulling Japanese into the picture. Now, why do they do that? The reason they do that because 100% of the people in the world love Japanese cuisine. So when you add that, people will say, okay, this is what I like.
So it's a commercial decision.
It is a commercial decision.
Right.
And of course, the Japanese do have excellent products.
Right.
And because they have excellent products, the price point is always much more. Right. With our local cuisine, it's a real challenge. And I want to let people know that, you think you know our local cuisine, but actually you don't know. You think we don't have seasons, but we do have seasons. You don't only eat, your grouper, your sea bass, because there's so much out there during the different seasons. And I think this is what I want to do. Unfortunately, at Rumpapa, we can only do so much.
Yeah.
It's a struggle for me, because sometimes when I want to create or want to do a dish, and I know that perhaps maybe 10% of the guests would eat it, then what do I do with the rest? I throw it away, I give it to staff. Yes, I can do that. But at the end of the day, it's cost. And cost affects profits. And profits is something you need to do as a restaurant, right? So that's why at Rimpapa, the only thing, the only time, that I can introduce the different ethnicities of different cuisines is when people come and they go to the private room and they say, okay, Damian, look, cook anything you want to. And I think that's why I'm the happiest because I can do whatever I want to do,
Yeah.
Your creative juices get to flow.
Not so much my creative juices, Not so much.
Okay.
I think this brain has got too much information in it and it needs to let go. Because if I don't let it go, I think I become mad, I mean, I'm already mad enough. I don't want to be mad.
Tell us, you mentioned Rimpapa there. How does that restaurant reflect your vision for Singapore heritage cuisine, and what are some of the signature dishes there that best represent our culture?
The biggest challenge for Rimpapa, I think is to promote heritage cuisine, because a lot of people don't know what it is. Most people that come to Rimpapa, they think, oh, Peranakan, oh, Eurasian. No, there are a lot of dishes there that are not Peranakan or Eurasian. We have a chickpea curry that's very, very South Indian or very Sri Lankan, right? We serve our Sri Lankan chicken curry with string hoppers.
Right.
Yes, there are some Sri Lankan restaurants in Singapore that do that as well. But the reason why I do that, because when I was a young boy, I ate chicken curry with string hoppers, and I loved it. I didn't like sugar. No, I don't want sugar. I want something savory. Yeah. So this is what we try and promote to people that come to Rimpapa, in terms of the experience. I think I want them to embrace the different ethnicities that we have in Singapore and the different heritages that we have. We have a Eurasian dish that's called bacha asam.
I've never heard of that.
Yeah, same.
Bacha asam.
If you're Eurasian, sorry, you said Sarani, right?
Yeah.
Now there's another terminology that that the Eurasians have it's degrading, but I really don't care. It's called grago. You know what grago is? Yeah. But you know why they call the Eurasians grago? Because most of the Eurasians in the past were fishermen.
Right.
Right. And I tell people, look, if it wasn't for grago, you won't have your bloody blachan, And with no blachan, how are you going to cook?
Can you imagine life without blachan?
Yeah, exactly. How I always have blachan at home, always, right? So it's not just the sambal blachan, it's the umaminess that you have in blachan, right? So, bacha asam is a Malaccan dish.
Wow.
So a lot of people that come to Singapore, not a lot of people, the Eurasians in Singapore don't actually know bacha asam. It's like curry devil's curry,
but
and
within the Eurasian community, there are so many different strains.
Yeah,
as
of course.
Groups of Eurasian.
You have your Portuguese, your Dutch, your English, the Indians,
Sri Lankan.
Yeah.
So is that why maybe some of the dishes are unfamiliar to the different groups of Eurasians?
Yeah. So I would say, when you say Eurasians, a lot of people they don't know, right?
Yeah.
Which.
It's just a catch-all term, isn't it?
You're right.
Yeah.
If you say Malacca, that's very distinct.
Right.
So, bacha asam is one dish that evolved in Malacca.
I see.
Yeah.
And we had it. It involves bacha asam as the beef rib?
Beef cheek.
Yes.
Beef cheek or beef?
We use cheek, but, we use cheek because it's a better cut.
Okay.
And if you cook it right, it has this gelatinous bits that are really, really great.
Okay.
Yeah.
What were some of the main ingredients in there again? Was it
tamarind?
Okay.
There's turmeric, there's garlic, the shallots.
And it came together so beautifully. It was very, very tender. I think Shehzad single-handedly polished off the dish.
I was guilty of that. I get. Look, the nearest equivalent would be like a rendangi type of thing.
Yes.
Correct,
Just to
but
give an equivalent.
like a less spicy kind of version.
Yeah.
All right, we're about to head back live on air, so do join us there. I want to say a good morning to Wan Alun, who is chatting with us or viewing or hanging out with us here on Facebook this morning. All right, back with more of Chef Damian in just a bit. One FM 91.3, Good Times, Greatest Hits, the sounds of Nirvana, the man who sold the world. And we are talking to a man who loves his food, loves Nirvana, Chef Damian D'Silva, who has joined us in the studio this morning. Welcome, Chef.
Thank you, Carol, and thank you, Shehzad.
Chef, we've talked about a lot about the kind of food that you've grown up with,
Yes.
that you want to preserve and you want to let the world know about. What, in your opinion, is the difference between a good and great dish?
Easy, you know. When you eat it, it brings back a lot of memories. Okay, it could be a simple dish, a very, very simple dish, but you know, there are dishes where you eat, right, and in some ways it brings different feelings to you. It could be feelings of sadness, feelings of happiness.
Yeah.
And that's what I don't look for it. You know, sometimes when you go out and eat, you actually come across dishes like this. Not every day, not every year, but occasionally you do.
That happened to me eating your nasi lemak at
Okay,
Rempapa,
thank
because
you.
when I eat the rice itself should be a dish on its own, because, you know, the amount of coconut milk that you use, you know, fresh coconut milk makes all the difference. And it made me remember growing up eating my mother's nasi lemak, you know, watching her prepare it with the coconut milk, going with her to the
Right.
market to even buy the coconut, you know, and it tasted like that. It's like eating a memory.
Yes.
And it brought back that fond memory of just growing up and being
Yes.
so amazed at this wonderful dish that I was introduced to as a
Right.
kid. Yeah.
Thank you.
So,
Thank you.
you know, even that dish itself over at Rempapa takes a lot of time and effort to prepare.
It's a 3-hour dish, just the rice.
Oh my gosh.
Just the rice.
Just the rice.
Yeah,
No, it
just the
is.
rice.
And Damien, I think you made a very good point when we spoke about it, because you said fresh coconut milk of that
Yeah.
quality
Yeah.
is actually almost impossible to get in Singapore, and
It
it's
is.
expensive.
It is expensive, and you can get it, but you just have to pay for it. It's
Right.
about $7 a kilo.
There you go.
Fresh
Yeah.
coconut milk, yeah.
And the next point connected with that, Damien, is here in Singapore, why do we kind of devalue our local cuisine?
I don't think we devalue it, no. I think we don't actually understand what goes behind it.
Right.
Because when we come back from home, right, let's say you had a hard day, you come back from home, and your grandma is still around, your mother is still around, there's always food on the table, right? If your mom's working, it's your grandma who's cooking, or someone else is cooking, if you're fortunate enough. Today, you know, most maids are cooking. But I think because of that, what has happened is that people expect, right, for food to be at a price level where they can compare it at home. The problem here is that a lot of them don't go to the market.
Right.
So they don't know actually what's the cost of ingredients. And if you do go to the market, there are different stalls that sell different quality of the same ingredient. Right? Let's say if you go and you see a prawns. Now there's prawns that's $12 a kilo, $14 a kilo, $20 a kilo, $24 a kilo, and $32 a kilo. They're all the same size, but they're all different species, right? So if you're going to try and compare $14 a kilo to a $32 a kilo prawn, that's not fair,
Yeah, no
right?
competition.
So I think that's the reason. A lot of them, they don't go to the market and they don't actually understand, you know, the costs involved. And then that's the other thing, right? Your grandma doesn't pay rent. Your grandma doesn't get paid. We as restaurateurs, we've got to pay rent, we've got to pay our staff, and that is at
So
a
livelihood.
cost. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, you know, when we charge, as an example, right, $17 for nasi lemak, you know, or $19 for nasi lemak, most people jump out of the skin and like, no, you must be crazy, you know. Okay, you come to my restaurant and you cook the nasi lemak. Let's see, first of all, whether you can get it right.
Yeah.
Right? And even if you can get it right, let's see how long can you consistently get it right.
That's true.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know? So, yeah, it's hard work.
Yeah.
It's not just hard work, it's work that requires a lot of soul.
Yeah.
You know, it's not just taking the nasi lemak, washing the water, rushing here and there. No. It's wanting to make sure that when you put that spoon on your mouth to check the QC of the rice,
Sure.
it's the same as when you first started 3 years ago.
I tell you what, you have a scoop of this rice. It is so good. And Chef was telling us about the process.
Yeah.
3 times, I think you were mentioning.
Steaming it, yeah.
Oh, it's-
Taking it out.
And by the way,
back.
also, Damien goes to the market on a daily basis.
I do. I
So
just
you're
was at the market this morning.
Yeah, which is
Right.
why he
Yeah.
couldn't come in earlier. We were like, Chef David, can you come in earlier? He's like, no, I got to go to market. Chef, what message would you like to impart to future generations of chefs and food enthusiasts regarding Singapore's culinary heritage?
I think what's really important is for you to try anything that is put on your plate. Just try it. If you don't like it, you don't like it. You never know when it's something that, you know, you would probably appreciate, or worse, you never see it again, right? And I think that's the mindset I would like Singaporeans to have, And when it comes to what the cost of a meal is, don't think about that. Yes, of course, we all cannot afford to eat a $17, but once in your lifetime, go and eat it, and be fair about it, right? When you eat the nasi lemak, don't think about shit. I paid $17 or $19 for this. Don't think about that, right? Put it in your mouth, close your eyes, chew, and then say, "Wow, this is worth more than that $17 that I paid, man."
Yeah.
That is the attitude we should have when we go out and eat, right? We do not judge by going in and looking at the menu and says, "Well, everything's so expensive." Think about the process of how it came on your table. This didn't come from a factory, It came from people in the kitchen that cook with soul. Right. So that's the mindset you should have, and it just doesn't apply just for Singapore heritage cuisine. It applies to hawkers, right? If you go and have a great char kway teow, think about what time the guy woke up, what time he started, preparation.
Time is money, right?
Yes, exactly. And the hawkers in Singapore, they're too cheap. I'm sorry, a lot of people might not be happy with what I'm saying. I'm telling you, the hawkers in Singapore are underpriced. They really are. The good ones, the one that have so much heart and soul when they produce something that's really good, they need to make more money,
I think about it in terms of if my grandparent or my parents were to be putting in all that time and labor into preparing a dish, how much would I pay for this dish, right? I would give them top dollar.
Yeah.
Because I can see how much hard work has gone in. On top of that, they have lives to balance as well.
Sure.
Yeah.
And I think you made a very valid point that we wouldn't hesitate to pay top dollar for other cuisine.
Yeah, we won't.
True.
For sure.
Yeah.
And when it comes to Singaporean cuisine, hold on.
Yeah.
Chef, thank you so much for joining us here in the
Not
1FM
at all.
studio this morning.
Our
It's been
pleasure.
such an insightful chat. We
No,
definitely
thank you.
love what you're doing for Singapore.
Thank you for inviting me, and allowing me to say what I need to say.
Yes.
I think that's important.
Oh, for
Coming
sure.
from the grandfather of Singapore heritage
Do
cuisine.
you prefer grandfather or godfather?
It doesn't matter, lah. I'm old anyway.
Whatever the word is, much respect to you. Once again, congratulations on your new
Yeah,
award
well
from
done.
Thank you.
STB. We can't wait to see what else is lying ahead for you.
Thank you very much.
Alrighty, stay with us. Coming up shortly, we've got a news and sports update. If you want to catch that interview again with Chef Damian, it's up there on our Facebook at facebook.com/1FM913.
1FM 91.3.
And the winner is Best Electric Hatchback, Best Electric Car, Best Discover.
Hey everybody, thank you so much for joining us here on Facebook this morning. That was Chef Damian D'Silva. Chef Damian, where can people find you?
Rimpapa.
Okay.
At Park Place Residences, number 2. Park Place
Do you get people coming up and just chatting with you at the restaurant quite a lot?
I do when I'm around, and most of the time I am in the restaurant. I would say more for lunch.
Okay.
Right. Sometimes I go in for dinner, but yeah, people do come up to me. Yeah,
Okay.
it's not just it's funny. I get more younger people than older people.
Right.
Yeah, and which is wonderful.
Okay, that's
which
cool.
is really wonderful.
Yeah. Are you anywhere else during that? You're also doing catering?
Yes.
So can people reach out to you? How can they do that?
So I mean, you can order through our website, right? Lunch, dinner, or you want some kind of event, that can be done. So there's not an issue there. And if you have special requests, if you give us enough time, we can actually do anything. If you have special requests, dishes that I don't know, your grandma used to cook and you miss it. It might not be the same, but we'll try and get it as close as possible.
I think that's what I loved over at Rumpapa. It's like eating all these memories, reliving the past. And you said something really salient. You said our past leads us to our present.
Of course, it does.
Yeah.
It
and
does.
I presently appreciated, how far that, the journey, and how far we've come together.
Well, don't forget, you can also ask for cow dung. If you want to know more about that, ask him about cow dung. And you can find him at rumpapa.sg. Or rumpapa.sg, is that right?
Rumpapa.
It's rumpapa.sg.
There you go.
Okay. Thank you so much, Chef Damian.
Thank you for having me.
As well as